On today's podcast, parliamo italiano. I'm here with Maureen today. She works at Tri-C in the Encore program. She does the Italian classes. And you've been speaking Italian for decades now, but you're not really Italian. This is a second language for you.
Correct. Not a drop.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Well, one trip to Italy did it. And
Did you fall in love?
I did, with the language, because I found it beautiful and fun, and you can't keep a straight face. You smile instantly. See how you're doing that? And that's why my course is entitled Fun with Italian.
Fun with Italian.
Mm-hmm. So one trip to Italy, I was able to say the opening phrases, buongiorno, buonasera, grazie, prego, just your basic polite phrases.
Vino, you had to learn to say vino.
Vino, that was top of the list also.
And espresso.
And so many of the menu items we're already acquainted with in America because Italian food is so popular. But once you scratch the surface of the country and you start seeing the small towns, the big towns, the language, the welcoming people, you sort of fall in love with it.
Oh yeah, there's lots of places in Europe where the culture is very open and welcoming, and Italians are got to be one of the top groups there. So you were there for personal, for business, for
all of the above. All of the above. Once was a business trip in Milan. So Milan is not usually your first city. And I was very surprised when you cannot get spaghetti and meatballs in Milan. Oh, signora. No, it's the wrong part of the country. So the cuisine is very specific to the regions. And that opens up a whole new world of exploration. And then people that have come here with their heritage recipes, you understand why, because it came from their region and it is not all over Italy to be found. So it's just one level scratches the surface to another level, and you just keep pursuing the language. The language is just beautiful to study, and I just fell in love with it and became my pastime, turned into a career.
Wow. I have to look at my notes here. I think a lot of people are very intimidated to try a new language, but you have a very unique approach. Tell me a little bit about how you teach Italian at the Tri-C Encore program.
Well, we start the basic first level, Fun with Italian, word lists, your basic word lists, the greetings and expressions that I just mentioned. And then we have food items. Everybody has a contribution about food. Love to say it. Everyone knows how to pronounce it. Then we have the days of the week and the months of the year. And can you tell me your birthday in Italian? So I always try to personalize it. The students, who are all senior lifelong learners, love to share their travel stories, love to share their family recipes. They'll bring in homemade cookies, they'll bring in homemade wine when permitted, and on it goes. So the course sort of runs itself, and no two sessions are ever the same. I have students who come back. I just saw someone yesterday. Oh, I'm taking your beginning classic. And I go, you are? She goes, yeah, it's just so much fun. And it also fills that 1 o'clock time slot. That also helps.
There you go. But when I was in high school, I attempted to learn Spanish. And I was going to a high school where there were a lot of kids who were from South America, Central America. And at that point, I didn't know the difference between Spanish and Portuguese. But the high school was trying to teach all of the American kids Spanish so that we could learn better. And then we got into something called the conjugation of verbs. Tell me a little bit about this.
I will never use that dirty word. That will throw people right back into their terror, back in high school, bad memories, and all you do is memorize lists and lists of, and you never spoke. You never got to speak. But it is very intimidating if you had that environment with native speakers. That is intimidating for a non-native speaker. You're willing to try it, but you're already behind. because you can't speak it. Perhaps those students couldn't read it. They maybe weren't literate in their Spanish language or whatever, but it's very hard to mix the two. You have to have separate starting points.
Well, and very quickly, we learned slang
Sure.
and shorthand and expressions
Non-standard,
and
right.
things like that.
Correct.
And so like somebody who's like not a native English speaker and you use an expression like, oh, it goes without saying.
Right.
They're like,
Those don't translate. Idioms don't translate.
they're sitting there going, wait, it has voice command? What do you?
None of that. Yeah, right. So you start with basic, and I start with just things people, the family members. Everyone loves to talk about their family and the food. That's the heart of Italian culture. And then we throw in a few pets. Everyone wants to talk about their pet and their dog. Then we add some colors to the pets and the dog. So each class builds on the previous one. Can you please teach us another level? Okay, so fun with Italian turned into more fun with Italian, level 2, to be offered in the winter session. Level 2 goes, oh, come on, we want more. I go, really? So now it has to get a little bit ugly. Now I don't want you running off, but level 3 is the fun continues.
There we go.
And now we build sentences and we start doing short readings. And now it's serious, but we still have fun.
But you're getting, you're when you say serious, you're just getting into the nuances of the language.
The technicalities, yeah.
Technically, you are teaching people to conjugate verbs.
But you don't call it that.
But you just don't say it that way. And then right there, just like, oh, I got to learn the lingo too. And
you just call it a verb form. And I ask them, what do you need to say when you picture yourself? What do you want to say to an Italian relative? What do you want to say when you land in Italy if you're traveling there?
Depends on the relative, I suppose.
You could add a few hand signs and a few gestures like that. But I don't teach those.
But there is this, I don't want to say stereotype, but
yes, there is.
The tone of voice in any language, English, if you say to somebody in English, I love you versus I love you, right? The tone of voice means something.
Inflections, yes.
And so I'm presuming that in Italy, part of the language, part of the communication is maybe culturally or subconsciously hand gestures.
It's an expressive culture with hand gestures, yes. But the context makes a big difference too. What setting are you in?
Always context,
right.
The tone of voice, these kinds of things. And so do you have an example of how a hand gesture accentuates a phrase?
It sort of punctuates it visually. So it could be anything, just moving your hand around, which you can't see on a podcast, but I could be doing this. I don't need to, but in my classroom I do. It's just more dramatic. And the Italians can be very dramatic. The opera, the music, the passion for the voice in opera, things like that. So I always try to start my class with some form of music. Not always the same form, but it'll be Italian. And any comments, and we can bring it up on YouTube. The magic of YouTube allows you to bring in all sorts of music with the lyrics. So I can show them the difference between Italian and dialect. And so many of our students have their dialects from Italy, and they say, oh, but we don't say it that way in our family, because which region are you from? It's not standard Italian. And that is a problem. They're very, I don't say they push back with that. So actually they're bilingual. They speak dialect at home. They speak standard Italian in school. And you can't run a country unless everyone can communicate.
Well, there you go. And there's a difference between New York English and Georgia English.
Sure.
And Texas English.
Sure.
And there's I'm given to understand that like the dialects in Germany are so strong between North and South that they're barely intelligible to each other. Is it that extreme in Italy as well?
Yes. There are maybe 30 official dialects. So you learn your dialect, and it is warm, and it is what you're used to, and it's what your relatives always spoke to you as a child. And then you go to school, and someone's forcing you to learn another. And there's a lot of regionality, but it is the official language. Your military, your newspaper, your media. You have to have one language to unify the country.
That's true.
And yet you can still go back and do your little dialect. Have it all. Don't limit yourself. So that we don't have that. We have English with accents and English with, in our country's, vast country. But Italy is a smaller country, and yet they still say isolated. Part of it's the geography. The mountainous regions isolated the tiny villages, so the dialect form. They didn't have mass communication. This is how we speak. We don't know what they're speaking on the other side of the mountain range. So now the world is opened up to everyone with all languages.
And northern Italy, so northern Italy has a little different thing than say down by the boot,
Correct.
heel.
The different expressions and ways of saying things, yes.
And that's not that vastly different than here in America, but it's
Well, they're different words.
different.
When I bring them up on YouTube when they're singing a song like O Sole Mio, that's Neapolitan. So that's southern Italy, that's south of Rome. Now you're on the Amalfi Coast. And if you're from Florence, you're like, that's not us. And you can't make that up. But it also makes it interesting to go there to see the variation in the languages and the cuisines and the people and the attitudes.
Well, and even like remember when they had here in the United States, we have different words for the same thing. So a public drinking fountain, some people would call that a fountain. Apparently up in Wisconsin, it's called a bubbler.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, there's these little distinctions.
Certainly.
It's the same thing, but we're talking about that. But it amazes me because English or the United States, starting in, say, the 1800s, is such a land of immigrants to begin with. It amazes me how many French words and how many Italian words have snuck into the English language.
Yes.
The one that jumps right out of me, anyone who's got a musical background, right? When you're playing the piano, that's an Italian word.
See, piano, slowly, softly.
Softly, right. And technically, the name for that instrument with 88 keys is the forte piano.
Pianoforte, see?
Because we've just shorthanded it because Americans love our shorthand.
We're very efficient. We reflect that in our language. We get to the point. We don't embellish when we don't have to. We're just like, get the job done. That's our culture.
There you go. I want to put you on the spot just a little bit. Tell me some other Italian words that have snuck into English or that we've rolled in.
All the food. There seems to be a...
Oh, well.
The food is a safe topic, except for the word bruschetta. So in America, we say SCH, bruschetta. So if you're in a restaurant and you say bruschetta and you're speaking correct Italian, you may not be talking to someone who understands that. And they'll say, did you mean bruschetta? Oh, sure, that's whatever. So that seems to be the word now that keeps coming up. Like, can you tell us how to say that correctly? Sure, bruschetta. If we're in Italian class, it's bruschetta. If you're in Italy, bruschetta. If you're here, just say something that looks like that. Because our language says SCH is shh.
Yes.
We're just not used to the Italian.
Well, that's like on the French side of things, a prime cut of steak, we have rolled that into our, and we say it the French way. We say filet mignon.
And it's pronounced correctly. So Americans have gotten very good at saying gnocchi. Gnocchi. That's, you see that and you go, no. But you can say it.
Yeah.
The gnocchi. And anything with the GN, a lasagna. We're real good at that word too. So you do get used to things if you want to. And there it is. It's not going to change. Lasagna is going to be called lasagna.
So before you got into Encore, what were you doing with Italian?
Ooh, I was teaching at Mayfield City Schools for 13 years. Their Italian program is extremely strong because of the heritage in the community. The generation that came, the population that came from Italy, wanted to Americanize their families, their grandchildren, and so forth. So they, no, we're not going to teach you Italian. You might hear some dialect words, you're going to pick them up, but we're not going to teach it to you. We want you to be Americanized, even to the point of changing your name maybe. Maybe you'll drop the vowel on the end just to be accepted into the culture. It's like everybody has to pay their dues when you come here. So then that generation didn't get any Italian. They have kids. Those are the students I taught. We want our children to learn Italian, the proper Italian. I don't want to say proper. That's like a pejorative word. I want to say the standard Italian. The standard Italian is Florentine. And not everybody in Italy likes that. They want their language to be chosen. Why not the Milanese? Why don't you choose us? Why don't you choose Venetian? Very different dialects to be standardized. Florentine got chosen in big part. Dante helped codify the language, so did St. Francis of Assisi. The early written stuff was a combination of Old Latin and the vulgar, the Latin spoken on the streets. So it became Italian over time. So that's what we teach in the schools. And Mayfield was the only public school that would teach Italian, starting at middle schools, where I started, develop the program into advanced placement Italian.
So even in the 20th century, you had Italians immigrating to the United States, and they wanted to assimilate so well that they were telling their children,
yeah, we're not speaking Italian.
Right, we're going to speak English,
Right.
at least outside.
Right.
Because they wanted their kids to take.
Right. If they fled the regime, the Mussolini, whatever, they're not going back to the country. They're not interested in that. It took another generation. Like, it's okay now, because you would be, I'm going to say, persecuted. You would be discriminated against. It seemed like every culture that comes here has that issue with the immigrant population. You have to prove your worth. You stick together until you can branch out and establish yourself.
Well, and you and we have talked in the past about, right, the American tourist going over to Europe, wherever in Europe, and they get over there and they go, oh, a Starbucks, right? And they have that little comfort of home, even though if you're going to Italy, you really want to go sit at the cafe on the outside and get a real espresso, and right. But I guess the same is true for immigrants coming into this country, that stereotypes and prejudices and the new people, and
always.
So they always feel a little lost. They always feel, whether it was the 1800s or the 1900s, whenever it was. So it's always kind of a comfort that the Irish, there would be Irish neighborhoods and Italian neighborhoods and German neighborhoods in New York and Philadelphia and wherever, because it was a little bit of home. And some of these immigrants, like you mentioned, Mussolini and potato blights in the
they had to flee that, right?
They had no choice. They didn't want to come over here. They had no choice. Right. It was that or kind of die or perish or be in prison or whatever. And so there is that little bit of idea of like, let's group together beyond the prejudices that they were facing in a new country. But I brought a little bit of home with me because that guy, my neighbor, can speak Italian too.
And we bond and we help each other. We find it like a job opening. Here, you'll be good at this. Here, I'll help you learn English here. And that's why communities like Little Italy are still solid. Alta House taught English to Italians. My personal background is Slovenian. Same thing. You hang out with your tribe.
Yeah.
And that's your support group until you get established.
Well, we like the familiar.
Absolutely. We're human beings. That's what we gravitate to. And yet you have to feel secure to branch out. And once you get that security, then the next generation, it takes a generation. So the next generation, yes, you can freely study Italian now. No one's going to put you down for it. They're going to admire it. They're going to want to join your classes.
Well, that's it. So have you had any students from Encore, the non-traditional learner, have they gone over to Italy?
Oh, yes.
And tell me a little bit about what happens when they...
One student came back, Kathy, and she said, "Thank you for teaching me how to say dove, where is?" Because I get in the cab or I go and they ask me, "Dove, signora, where do you want to go?" And she was able to communicate. And the fun part of traveling is they want to learn some English. They don't want to speak Italian to you, but you make a trade. I go, "No, I'm going to teach you English if you teach me Italian. How do you say this?
There you
Please
go.
correct this phrase. I don't think I'm saying it right." So And immediately you've established a rapport.
And so maybe they're learning a little dialect then too, the variations.
Everything. You get there and it's all part of your experience as a traveler. And
that's awesome.
And they come into my class and they share all this. It's great stuff.
Oh, that's got to be encouraging to the new people coming into your
yeah.
class. Like, oh, if they can do it, I bet I could do it too.
I have one lady, she's coming back, Judy, God bless her, 5 times. I go, Judy, you're back again. She goes, I love it. Just sits there. No, we have a good time because no 2 sessions will be identical.
Well, I was just going to say the way you teach your class, and then probably she's also looking for some of that wine too.
The wine and the time slot is good. It's 1 o'clock. A lot of Tri-C's Encore students like to leave by noon. There's like a group that comes in and they're out by noon. They just have to leave for whatever reason, which is
Lunch
fine.
or whatever, yeah.
Whatever, you're retired, you can call your shots, make your own schedule. For those of you that want the full day experience, I'm there at 1. Then I encourage people to go work out or do something physical at 2.
There you go, get the blood
just wrap
pumping.
up your day and just have a good old time, yeah.
That's awesome. Maureen, I look forward to seeing you in the fall. Thanks for being here
back.
today.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for this wonderful interview.